Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. In this video, we're going to be looking at what makes a trinomial a perfect square trinomial. And if it is a perfect square trinomial, how do you write it in factored form? I got this question from the McGraw-Hill-Ryerson Functions 11 textbook, Chapter 1, Prerequisite Skills, Question 8. If you want private tutoring with me, or you want to enroll in my grade 11 functions course, visit my website, tutor.ca. Okay, so we're given a bunch of trinomials here, and we need to identify if they are perfect square trinomials, and if they are, how do you factor them? There's a trick for factoring perfect square trinomials. So let's first of all learn how to identify a perfect square trinomial just from standard form. What you do is you do this little, I like to draw it like this. So you take the middle number, okay, you divide it by 2, okay, negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3, and you square it. That's 9. Negative 3 squared is 9. And if that number matches this number, then it's a perfect square trinomial. Otherwise, it's not. So in this case, it is not a perfect square trinomial. Okay. Let's try that again. Let's try it with part B. See if that fixes things. See if part B works. So part B is x squared minus 12x plus 36. Once again, to figure out if this is a perfect square trinomial, we must take the middle number, okay? We divide by 2, okay? Negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6, and we square it, okay? Negative 6 squared is 36, and so yes, this is a perfect square trinomial. This is a perfect square trinomial, so I'll say yes. And now to factor it, all you do is you write x minus 6 squared. So the minus 6 came from here. The squared comes from the fact that it's a quadratic, so it needs to have a factor squared like this. And this form is what you would get if you did simple trinomial factoring on this. You would find that, the two numbers that add to negative 12 and multiply to 36 is negative 6 and negative 6, and so you just get the same factor twice. But there's a trick, right? There's a trick here, which is what we just did, which is you just look at this number, negative 6, which is the number you got after dividing by 2, but before you square it, and it's just x plus that squared. So x plus negative 6 is x minus 6 squared. Let's look at part C. So part C is 2x squared plus 4x plus 1. Now, there is an important detail which wasn't relevant to the other parts, and that's that a, the leading coefficient, has to be 1. If it's not 1, you can't even ask the question. So what we got to do is we have to force it to be 1. We have to factor out a 2 to even begin this process here. Okay? Of course, you multiply by 2 to compensate. So 2x squared plus 2x plus 1/2. At this point, you want to do the same process. This is now the simple trinomial. And so we can do the same process like before. We take the middle number, we divide by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then we square it, and we ask, is that the number here? Well, it's not the number there, right? 1 squared is 1, not a half. And so once again, this is not, not that one. Oops. Oops, I wrote on the wrong one before. So yes for this one, and not for this one. There we go. Okay, part D. Part D is x squared, x squared plus 18x plus 9. So once again, we want to ask, is this a perfect square trinomial? Well, we take the middle number, divide it by 2. Sorry, we just take the middle number to begin with. There you go. And divide it by 2. Which is just 9, and we square that. Well, 9 squared is certainly not 9, so this as well is not a perfect square trinomial. Part E. Part E is x squared plus 4x plus 4 plus 4. Again, to determine if this is a perfect square trinomial, we take the middle number, we divide it by 2, 4 divided by 2 is 2. And we square it. 2 squared is 4. So this is a perfect square trinomial. Yes, for this one. Once again, we now want to factor this. And so the way we factor this is x plus 2 squared. The plus 2 came from there, right? The number you get after dividing by 2, but before squaring it. It's x plus that number squared. That's how you factor a perfect square trinomial in a quick way, once you know it's a perfect square trinomial. Okay, that's part E, and let's look at part F. So part F is 4n squared plus 12n, so 4n squared plus 12n plus 9, I think. Plus 9, yes. Okay. So once again, we have a complex trinomial here. We don't want a complex trinomial when we're doing any kind of question about a perfect square. So what we want to do is we want to factor out a 4. You have to factor out the 4 to begin with. Okay. So factor out the 4. We have a 4 in the front. Okay. Then inside we have n squared plus 3n plus 9 over 4. Okay. You know, we ended with a fraction, but that's okay. You know, we had to factor out that 4. And at this point, you want to do the same process as before, right? You want to take this middle number. You want to divide it by 2. Okay. Divided by 2. Well, 3 divided by 2, I would just call that 3 over 2. Okay. I would just call that 3 over 2. A little bit easier if we call it 3 over 2. Right? And then I want to square that. And now we got to ask ourselves, what's 3 over 2 squared? Well, 3 over 2 squared is 3 squared over 2 squared. The square just goes down. And that's 9 over 4. And look at that. That is what the number that's over there. So this also is a perfect square trinomial. Yes. And same way as before, this factors into x plus 3 over 2 squared. And the 3 over 2 comes from right there. Okay. That's everything for this question. We did all the parts. If you want private tutoring from me, or you want to enroll in my grade 11 functions course, visit my website, tutor.ca. Thanks so much for watching. I hope it was helpful, and have a nice day.